Okay, so now we're going to be working with dihybrid crosses. Dihybrid means two, di means two, so we're going to be looking at two traits with one Punnett square. Okay, and these type of questions have always been asked on the STAR. I've been teaching the STAR for almost 6 years, and there hasn't been a test that didn't have these questions. Okay, so it's really important to learn these. They're a little complicated at first, but once you practice, they're really easy. Okay, it's an easy question that you can get right. So they've already shown you an example. I'm going to go ahead and do number 1 with you. And the hardest part here is the parents. Okay, so this X and these lines is where you're going to put the parents, kind of like we were doing with the monohybrids, the monocrosses. So this is parent A, so we're going to put it here. Big T, big G, little g. Then heterozygous T and heterozygous G. So they give you the parents. So it's a tall green plant, tall and green, is crossed with a tall green pea plant, tall and green. So obviously, let's make our key. We can't forget our keys. Big T represents tall, is dominant for tall. Little t then is short, recessive for short. Big G is dominant for green. Big G, and then little g is recessive for white. Okay, because that's what it says here. Green, short. That's recessive. Alright, so the hardest part is putting the parents. Notice, if you look at the example, there's not one letter per square. There's 2 letters per square. So we have to do a little trick to figure out where the parents go. Okay, you can use the FOIL method, or you can use the happy face method, which I like. You just have to remember to be happy when you do these parents. So I'm going to get a different color. So for example, you can do eyebrow. So that's T with G. Big T with big G. Then eyebrow again. So 2 eyebrows. Big T, little g. Big T, little g. Then you do the nose. Big T, big G. And then you do the mouth. Big T, little g. So that's the first parent. Okay, still parents are going on top and side. Okay. Then we're going to do eyebrow. Big T, big G. Eyebrow again. Little t, little g. Then nose, the middle. Little t, big G. And mouth. Big T, big G. Okay, so now we have our parents. So now we're going to look at the offspring. So when you're putting the letters inside each box, you want to remember to keep the same letters together and always still put the big letters first. So let me give you an example. So these are two big T's, so I'm going to keep my T's together. And these are 2 big G's, so I'm going to keep my big G's together. I'm going to keep my T's together, 1, 2. And this one has a big and a little. So I'm going to put the big G first and then the little one. And I do that because it's easier for me to see what is dominant. Okay? Big T, big T, big G, big G. Big T, big T, big G first, and then little g. Big T, little t, big G, little g. Big T, little t, and then we have 2 little g's. So I'm still keeping my T's and G's together, but I'm putting the big letter first, no matter which side it's on. Okay, because you just drop them in. Big G, big G. Big T, little t. Big G first, little g. Big T, little t. Big G, big G. Big G, big G. Big T, little t. Big G first, little g. Big T, little g, big G first, little g second. Big T, little g, big T, big G, little g, and last, big T, little g, little g. Okay, so now I have all my offspring, all my sperm and egg chances. And now they're asking for the ratio of the phenotype, the physical, not the letters. So they're asking for how many are tall and green, how many are tall and white, how many are short and green, and how many short or white. So we can use our key for this. So in order to be tall, you need at least one big T, at least one. You don't need two, you need at least one because it's dominant. To be green, you need at least one big G to be tall and green. So let's count. This counts 1, 2, 3, 4, because they all have at least one big T and they all have at least one big G, at least one. 1, so 5. This one doesn't. This one does not have a big G, so it's not tall and green. It's actually tall and white, but we can count that later. 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so there's 12 that are tall and green. Okay, these are not tall and green, but they are tall, but these are tall and white. So 1, tall and white, 2, tall and white, 3, 4. So there's 4 tall and white. And in order to be tall, you need at least one big T, but to be white, since it's recessive, you need 2 little G's. Okay? And there's no short and green, because all of them have at least one big T, so there's no short. So that's your answer, 12 to 4 to 0 to 0. Okay. Then the next page is a little easier. It's just practicing reading the genotypes and the phenotypes. So for example, here they give you the genotype and the phenotype, and based on the table you need to figure out what are these phenotypes. So they give you the genotype and you need to tell me the phenotype. Here they give you the parents, so you just need to do the Punnett square and practice counting. And it asks for the phenotype and proportions. So it's something out of 16, something out of 16. Remember, all this total means 16. Okay, same thing here. Practice doing the Punnett square and then tell me the amount. And then on the back, they want you to actually put the parents. Okay, so remember, putting the parents is the hard part. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one with you, and then you can do this one on your own, and this one on your own. This one, again, they give you the genotype. You need to tell me the phenotype. So let's go ahead and do this one as an example. And then you can do the rest on your own. So let's see. I want to get a color pencil that you can see. Alright, so here is eyebrow, little g, big B, eyebrow, little g, little b, nose, little g, big B, and mouth. Little g, little b. Okay, and you can kind of see the eyes. You see the eyebrows, the nose, the mouth. So it's like, I call it a happy face. Okay, next. Eyebrow. Big G, big B. Eyebrow again. Big G, big B. I mean little b. Excuse me. It's little. Nose. Big G, little b. And mouth. Big G, little b. Okay, so we've done the parents. So now let's go ahead and practice putting them in the square. So we want to keep the letters together, the same letters together, but we still put the big one first. So for example, this is the big G, little g, both big B's. Big G first, little g, big B first, little b. Big G first, little g, and then big B, big B. Big G first, little g, big B first, little b. Okay? And then you can do it by rows too. I kind of do it in order, but you can do it by rows. So, for example, all this row is going to have a big G. Right? And then it's going to have a little b. All this row is going to have a little b. And it's all going to have a little g. So you can do it that way too if you want. Some kids do it that way. So this has little g. This has big B. This one has little g, little b. This one has little g, big B. Here we have big G, big G, big G, big G. And then it has a big B, so big B, little b. Little g, big B, big B. Little g, big B, little b. Little g, big B, big B. Okay, so however you want to do it, one by one or row by row. Whatever is easiest for you, you can do. Almost done. Last one. Big G first, little g. Big B first, little b. Oh, and then big G, little b, little b. So we've completed our Punnett square. Okay? And it's not asking for you to count, so you can go ahead and move on. But we know this is, well, it doesn't tell us the genotype, but like this could be green and brown, like green eyes and brown hair or something like that. But they didn't tell us, they just wanted us to practice setting it up. Now here you're going to actually do the genotype and the phenotype, and then do your parents based on what it says. Remember your vocabulary, heterozygous. Make your key here, which is right here. This is actually your key. Then remember to be happy here. Use the eyebrow, nose, mouth. And then make your Punnett square, and then they want to know the phenotype ratio. So kind of like what we did in the beginning, here's the phenotype ratio. Okay, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me.